Hi, I'm Art Bergeron, and welcome to this installment of the 2025 update of Elder Law 101. This was a series of shows that I conceived several years ago to help my clients who are all seniors. My median client age is 75. I have no clients under 55. Figure out or deal with the issues that they face. Many of these issues are kind of unique to people who are older. This is really meant to be a series of 12 shows, and each of them lasts around 30 minutes. This one's actually going to last a little. This one's actually the shortest of them. I talked first about dealing with estate planning issues and incapacity issues before you're 60. Where you're not anticipating, and reasonably not anticipating health issues, but there might be an accident that happens or whatever, dealing with those things. Then I have a show dealing with things to consider in your 60s as you're retiring and Social Security is kicking in, a bunch of things. Then dealing with things in your 70s, often because you're now a little bit concerned because your health is not as good, or you're worried that it's not going to be good in the future. Dealing with life in your 80s, and I also have a show specifically dealing with tax issues, especially tax issues dealing around the ownership of your home and selling your home and all those things. Then I have a show that deals specifically with why it is that you can always qualify for Mass Health. This always amazes people, but it's true. I have a show dealing with the last year of your life, which you may be living right now. You just don't know it. But we talk about a lot of the issues surrounding frailty, dealing with frailty, the people who need to be involved, the planning that you need to do. I deal with a show regarding what happens after you've died, dealing with the things that you left behind, including estate administration, trust administration. I have a special show dealing only with trusts and the various kinds and how each of these kinds of trusts is meant to solve a particular problem. And so you can kind of see what trust you might be appropriate for you, or if you need one. I have a show dealing specifically with what happens after you die in terms of what kinds of protections do you want to build in regarding things that you're giving to your kids or your grandkids. How do you want to deal with those issues? I have an episode dealing with your Medicare package and how you need to be looking again at that package every single year. You don't want to be blowing that off. And finally, there's this show which was meant to be done when I was doing a lot of these presentations live in December, and I always call it "Tis the Season," both for giving and for tax planning. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I always talk about my friends Frank and Mary and their kids Peter, Paul, and Mary Jr. And I always, for years, said to people, and they always laugh about this, and I say, if you're old enough to get the joke, you're old enough to be my client. And their goals are very simple. They want to live in their house until they die. They want to be buried in the backyard. They want to leave everything to their kids. They really don't want to leave anything to anybody but their kids, though. They don't want to pay a lot in taxes. They don't want to get clobbered by nursing home costs, which ends up shrinking the pot substantially, many times to zero or less, that they can leave their kids. And I'm using this as the assumptions regarding their assets. That they own a house, it's worth about $400,000. It's located here in Metro West. They have savings worth about $300,000. Mary has an IRA worth $600,000 because she worked a lot during her lifetime. Total value of the assets $1.3 million. They both get Social Security. Frank's getting about $2,000 a month. Mary's getting $1,000 a month, and they have an RMD, a required minimum distribution, from that $600,000 IRA, which, if Mary is 80 right now, is about $40,000 a year. Their marginal tax rate right now, as a result of those numbers, is about 12%, because if they're married filing jointly, their total income is less than about $90,000. The marginal federal tax rate is only 12%. The Massachusetts one is 5%. So I want to talk about, first of all, how Mary, if she needed to, could qualify for Mass Health, because there are implications to that in terms of their planning for how to deal with that issue. Suppose Mary had slipped and fallen yesterday, and Frank was to my office today saying, "Oh my God, she slipped and fell because she had a stroke. Looks like she's going to need to be in a nursing home for the rest of her life. What do I do?" I would tell Frank, well, because the both of you are alive, you can actually qualify Mary for Mass Health right away. And once Mary is on Mass Health, her income from her pension and Social Security will need to go to the nursing home. Mass Health will pay all the rest. That's not going to include the RMD, because I'm going to talk about that. It really is only going to include that the Social Security income of $1,000 a month. And then so the goal would be simply transfer all of the assets to Frank. Frank, while Mary has to show that she has less than $2,000 in countable assets, Frank can own the house no matter what the value. He can have other cash or cash equivalent assets worth up to $173,000, and he can have unlimited income. So what I would tell Frank would be transfer all of the assets to you. Keep, say, $100,000 of the assets. Use the remaining funds to buy a very specific kind of annuity, an annuity that calls for equal monthly payments over a term that is shorter than his life expectancy at that time. If Frank were 80 right now, his life expectancy would be about 20 years. The problem with that, though, is that in order to execute that strategy, Mary would have to cash out her IRA, which means that their income is going to jump to like $640,000 in the year in which this happens, and the top marginal tax rate that Mary's going to be that they're going to be paying on that income is 35%. They're actually going to pay a total in the year in which they're trying to qualify Mary for Mass Health of $161,000 in taxes. And say what they do is Frank takes my advice and he does all of these transfers and pays the $161,000 in taxes to qualify Mary for Mass Health. And then the day after, Mary dies. Now Frank paid this incredible amount of taxes, got absolutely no benefit from it at all, right? The answer to that question, actually, is an answer that Frank should be facing right now in December of this year, right? Because right now, in 2025, if he were making less than about $90,000, the top tax rate that he'd be paying on that money, the top marginal rate is 12% on everything up to $96,950. So say that Frank's income, remember Frank's income was about $40,000, right? Plus, I would suggest to Frank, say you take out an extra $43,550, an extra withdrawal from out of Mary's IRA. That means his total income that year would only be $83,550. The total additional tax resulting from that withdrawal of the $43,550 is about $5,000. If this were coming out over a number of years, and I used it over a long time, over 15 years, the total amount of tax he'd be paying that Frank and Mary would be paying on that money over that time would be $75,000 instead of $161,000. So there's a so one of the strategies that everyone should consider if they have a lot of money locked up in IRAs or 403Bs, 401Ks, any of these tax-deferred funds, is, and I know that this is counterintuitive. People are always telling me, oh no, they hate taking their RMD. They hate taking any of this money out because they know they're taking it out. They don't need it right now. They're going to have to pay tax on it, right? But as a mass health planning tool, and this is one of the biggest things that can affect Frank and Mary's financial health, and certainly that can affect whatever their kids are going to get after they die, is the potential for a nursing home hit. This is one of the major ways to protect against that hit while minimizing the tax. Now, if say that they're taking that money out every year, what do they do with the money? Well, certainly they could simply take it and put it with their other savings investments and earn interest on it and pay tax on the interest they earn it. The other thing they could do is they could convert the money to a Roth IRA. Because on the Roth, you may not, many seniors are pretty aware of Roths. The point is, the money that you're throwing into the Roth is after-tax money. So Mary could only would need to pay tax on the money before she put it in. But in this case, she's taking out the money anyway and paying the tax. The point, though, is that once the money is in, any additional growth of that money, whether it's appreciation in stock, whether it is income on bonds, whatever it is not taxable, no matter when you take it out. So if she starts pulling out that money every year, she keeps shrinking the amount that she would have to take out at the last minute as an emergency, and on which she'd have to pay this much higher interest rate. By the way, the same rationale would apply if Frank had died and Mary were alive, and Mary was saying to herself, okay, I've still got I've got all this money in my IRA. I'd like to make sure that if I need nursing home care, I can get it. And so what am I going to do? So say that Frank has died and Mary's still alive, and she's still got the house. She's still got that total savings, which is really, a lot of that is the IRA. And she says, what can I do? Well, Mary's asset protection strategy at that point would be, typically, you would create, because she has 3 children, take the most trusted child, create an irrevocable trust, name the most trusted child as the trustee of that trust. Specify in the trust that while Mary is not a beneficiary, the kids are, and that your trusted trustee has the right during your lifetime to make any distributions to these kids, to any one of the kids, for any purpose. Mary would only do that, of course, if Mary trusted the trustee and trusted that the money would only get distributed to one of the kids if Mary needed it, so that the money could go to the kids and the kids could then turn around and give the money back to Mary, right? But the point is, if Mary decided to use this strategy, 5 years and a day after this money goes into the trust, all of that money is safe, non-countable, and non-lienable if Mary later needs to qualify for Mass Health. The problem, though, if I'm talking to Mary and Mary wants to do this because Frank has died and she wants to protect the money right now, is that she can't. She can't get that 5-year clock running unless she takes all of the money in terms of her IRA out of the IRA, right? So I would tell her, what you may want to do in that case is you may want to give away the money that is not tax-deferred money, and then start taking the tax-deferred money and give it away so much per year for 5 years, right? Say that she's got $600,000 in tax deferreds. Take $100,000 a year, distribute $100,000 every year for 6 years, right? And then, so the only amount that gets added to her income for tax purposes is just the $100 that she takes away. Now, the bad news about doing that is that the money that she gives away in later years, as to each one of those extra distributions that she made to the irrevocable trust, a separate 5-year clock applies. So if she gives away $100,000 this year, that money won't count if she applies for Mass Health 5 years from today in 2030. If she gives another $100,000 next year, that money won't count if she applies for Mass and 6 years from today in 2031, etc. So the moral of the story is that if she wants to use these strategies, she wants to start doing them as quickly as possible. But I want to also just take a few minutes to talk about how that strategy, those strategies, which are really income tax reduction strategies, play into gifting in general and estate taxation in general. So basically, Mary's estate plan, Mass Health aside, is that when she dies, she wants to divide her assets equally between Peter, Paul, and Mary Jr. So one possibility, depending on how Mary feels about what her asset situation is, or in this case, if she wants to make sure that those assets that she has will not end up getting depleted if she later needs to qualify for Mass Health, is to give them away early, like right now. So the question would be, what if Mary simply gave away her assets right now? Now, whenever I suggest this to a senior, they'll always tell me, oh, no, I can't do that. I just know, because there's something that bad happens if I do that. And I say, what is that exactly? And they're not sure ever, right? But it's because they've heard of this gift tax, the myth of the gift tax. So the myth of the gift tax stems from, I'm going to talk to you about this for a few minutes. First of all, if she gives all these assets to her kids this year, not only are they really going to say thank you, but also they're not going to have to pay any income tax on that money. They can just keep it, right? Now, if she's giving the money away because she wants to know that while she's alive, they're going to give it back to her, she may be nervous about doing that, and that's why she may want to use the irrevocable trust instead. But the point is that she can just give this money away, and there is no Massachusetts gift tax, nor has there ever been. And as I mentioned, the receipt of a gift is not income. The myth of the gift tax refers to the federal estate tax system. At the federal level, if you die leaving an estate of more than $14 million, you have to pay a federal gift tax, and the gift tax rates for the money over $14 million are substantial. If you give away money before that, if you give away money before you die, you have to pay a gift tax unless you're eligible for one of the two exclusions, the one that everybody knows about and the one that nobody knows about. The one that everybody knows about is that there's a certain amount of money per person per year that you can give anybody you want. And that amount used to be $10,000 a year, but there's an inflation provision in the federal law. So this year, in 2025, it's $19,000, and everybody knows that. But then there's the second exclusion that no one knows about, and that is, during your lifetime, you can give away up to $14 million, which is the estate tax exclusion. You can give as much as the entire estate tax exclusion. So unless you have the assets that make you think you're going to be giving away more than $14 million during your lifetime, as a practical matter, there is no gift tax. So the next question is, though, right, because you now realize that there is no gift tax, how can you avoid the estate tax? The estate tax applies to any estate that has with total assets of more than $2 million. Now, in this case, Mary's assets are less than $2 million, so they wouldn't apply to her. But if her assets were greater than $2 million, she would have the ability, by making gifts now, to gift her way below the estate tax, just to get below that $2 million. So, gifting. You can make gifts every year and thereby minimize your IRA withdrawal tax by not pulling out all of the money all at once. For mass health purposes, by making those gifts as soon as possible, you're protecting that money so that it won't be counted if you need to qualify for mass health. And finally, if you have assets and you're an older person and the assets exceed a total value of $2 million, by gifting away enough money to get your assets below $2 million, you're eliminating the Massachusetts estate tax. So there are a bunch of great reasons to make those kinds of gifts. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Once again, the basic theme, there are some reasons why you may be wanting to think about making gifts during this season. There is this $19,000 per person per year myth that is just not true. So if you want to make bigger gifts to your kids now so that you can hear them say thank you, you can. And by making these gifts, you can protect these funds in the event that you later need to qualify for mass health. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. If you've got any further questions, the goal of all of my work, as I indicated, is to help people with peace of mind, is to help you sleep well at night. If you've got any questions on any of this, please give me a call at 860-1470 or email me anytime at abergeron@myriclaw.com. Thank you very much.